Hey all, I'm Jennie Pearl and this is Dylan Wilder Quinn. And we have some upcoming opportunities to connect in the new year. And we were thinking about our work and how we really connect relationship wise, and really feels important for us to be able to touch in with vulnerability. And you may have watched in other videos that we've shared where we're talking about the importance of us being able to model this work and practice this work in our own bodies and selves. And so we want to practice that live for you all, and want to really also model some transparency around nervousness that I feel, nervousness, Dylan, that I know we've talked about before the video that you shared that you're feeling, around this question that has to do with shame.
That's
And
how I
so
know
we
it's a
wanted
good
to,
question to ask. Yes.
what's that?
Oh, I said that's how I know it's a good question to ask. That's how I'm like, oh, this is what we need to be talking about. This is what we need to be modeling. Yeah. I'm like, oh, still nailing it.
Yeah, yeah, we get the feels before we hit record, so we know it's an important one for us to be exploring
Yeah.
together. And so, Dylan, I want to ask you just a brief and a brief question, brief answer. We won't have endless amount of time to work on this, but when when you're working with your racism, what brings you the most shame?
I think most recently, um, I think about times that I've hurt people, that I've caused pain, especially in anti-racist spaces, especially knowing that I'm an anti-racist facilitator. Like, um, when I cause harm, especially when it's someone I don't know that well. So there's not a relationship there. Um, there's not that trust there. I definitely still have a freeze response, still have a lot of shame, have to like make sure that I'm moving through it in a healthy way that's not causing further pain. Yeah,
Mm,
I'd say that's the time I've noticed it the most lately.
mm, thank you.
Hmm.
Mm.
Thanks
I
for
think,
asking that.
yeah, I think for myself, the time that I notice shame is often when I feel like my racism, I always think of it as like duping me. Like I don't even realize that it's there. It's kind of similar to what you're talking about with hurting someone. It's usually when I've hurt someone or when I'm afraid that I have. I don't know if I've hurt them yet, but I'm afraid that I have. And then my whiteness can kind of go, oh, you're such a bad person. You did it all wrong. Your ancestors were horrible. Like it just kind of goes into this little
Mm,
spiral, that if I keep going into that, it's not, I can get stuck. And so I think it's the moments where I realize that I don't know quite exactly if I've hurt someone, but I have an imagination that I have, that bring up a lot of shame for me.
mm.
And one of the things you just talked about, Dylan, that I really appreciate is you brought it in a little bit. And so I'm curious to hear more about how you move through that shame and not get stuck in it. What are some strategies you have in a brief moment to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jenny. So like the reason why I think it's really important to move through it is shame gets me stuck, right? And if I'm getting stuck, if I'm overthinking it, I'm frozen in this work, and then I'm not actually working towards the liberation of people of color, towards the ending of white supremacy, of whiteness. And so it is really important for me when I notice that shame to take care of it. And there are a couple different ways I do it. Like one is like some more of the like you said, that feeling of duped. I change that shame, that I refocus that like internal, it's like internal punishment. It's like punishing myself. I turn it into anger, towards the systems that socialize me, not to avoid accountability and not to apologize for my behavior, but to help me move away from deeply punishing myself, and so that I can keep moving forward, right? Um, and my relationship to punishment as a kid, my parents were pretty like punishy and angry, and so sometimes that's like my voice of shame, and so it's really important that I like take care of that with whatever like adult parenting, like it's okay, it'll be okay. And then also being like, wow, how fucked up is whiteness to dupe me in that way? And then move forward towards like, okay, how do I repair this harm? Or how do I do better? And like ultimately the way I move through shame is to change my behavior and to change my behavior in a responsible way and repair whatever relationship needs to be repaired. Usually the story that goes along with shame when I've caused harm is like, oh, I've ruined this relationship, right? Or I've like endlessly harmed this person. So changing my behavior and repairing the relationship really helps me move through that too, if that's something they want, if that's something the person of color wants.
Right.
Yeah. How about you? How do you move through your shame when you're being duped or whatever else you want to
Oh, I'm just really sitting with everything you just said. Like I just want to slow all that down, but I will go into my brain instead and think about my strategies. But really appreciating you bringing in your own personal story and knowing your own self. So I think that's really important. So when I think about that for myself, one of the things I think about is how easy it is for me to take things personally. And so what you're talking about as a system, like that's why I use that word duping a lot. So it's cool that you made that connection. But I think what happens for me when I am in a deep place of shame is it's really hard for me to remember that it is a system. So I can talk about that right now and have that awareness and intellectual sense. But in those moments, I think I actually have to feel some pain and feel what that's like. And actually, I don't think I'm always, like, I don't want to come off saying that I like always do it right, because I don't. Like, I think sometimes I'm just in shame and I'm in pain and I might perpetuate more harm. And I think one of the ways that I move through shame is being able to look back on that, get feedback from people where it's appropriate, work through it in myself and with some accountability of other folks, people of color in my life that are open to that, and also other white folks. So I think what's arising right now is like sometimes I'm not great at it, because one of my family narratives that I grew up with was like I indoctrinated really taking things personally, like a lot of us white folks have. So just noticing that that's a pattern for me and trying to know that pattern. So when it happens, I can be in my pain, but then think about like what you were talking about, action, so important, actually changing my action. And so whether that happens in real time or if it's not possible in that moment, that I can look back and make some repair. Ideally it happens in that moment. Sometimes it does, but right now, for whatever reason, I'm feeling into those moments where it hasn't, and wanting to just honor that that's real too.
Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate you bringing a relationship into it, because I think I was just talking about doing all the work internally, and also times that I've felt I've been able to move through shame the quickest has been when I've sought out help, especially from other white folks, or like you said, people of color who are like who I've developed a relationship with and who we do this work together. But yeah, that's been the fastest I've moved through shame, has been with the support of other white folks in this work, or other people of color that are willing. Yeah, thanks, Jennie.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us all on this video call. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know some of your answers if you'd like, and please join us at our future workshops. All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you all. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Jennie.
Thank you, Dylan.